Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Sydney. Thank you so much for being here today. I wanted to make this video because I get a lot of questions about, evolving trends, and I do a lot of closet reviews, and these are some things that I have seen. And I made a video kind of similar to this about LuLaRoe, so make sure you go and check that out after you watch this one. But this is kind of like in addition to that video, and this is going to be my top 5 brands that I no longer buy to sell on Poshmark or just have never bought in general. And some of them you might be surprised by, just because some of these brands might do very well for some people, but for me, they have never done well, and I have just gotten to the point where I just stopped buying them. So I wanted to share these with you today. If you are interested in what I do buy on Poshmark, I have 2 guides that I have written, a sourcing guide and a Goodwill outlet guide, that are linked down below if you need help with your sourcing and learning how to kind of learn brands and pick out things and navigate the thrift store. I highly recommend picking those up. They are linked in the description box. So anyway, these are the top 5 brands that I do not sell on Poshmark. So the first one is going to be Betsey Johnson. And I see this in a lot of closets that I have looked at, Betsey Johnson stuff. And don't get me wrong, I have seen some of her things sell for a good bit, like her jewelry and mainly her jewelry and her shoes are the things that I have seen sell the best. I've actually sold a pair of her shoes, but I don't think they went for very much at all. So, you see her stuff a lot of times at TJ Maxx. And if you go on her website, her stuff retails for very, very high amounts. And I feel like this is just one of those brands where her retail amounts do not translate into resale amounts. She has very cute stuff. Don't get me wrong. She has very cute, quirky stuff. Her bags are adorable. Her shoes are adorable. She is adorable. If you have ever seen her or seen any of her fashion shows, she is absolutely amazing. But in terms of buying stuff for Poshmark, I do not buy her brand to sell on Poshmark unless I find like her shoes. And that is only if I find her shoes very, very cheap somewhere, like at the Goodwill outlet. It does not sell for very high profit margins. So be very, very cautious about Betsey Johnson. Like I said, if you find her shoes or her jewelry pretty cheap, you might be able to, sell that. But in terms of selling consistently, it is just not something that I recommend buying. Going along with that is this brand called Camuto. So this is the second brand that I don't sell, Camuto. I'm honestly not even really sure where they sell this in retail. I think it sells mostly at like department stores like Dillard's or Nordstrom. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think I've ever seen it in a retail store, but I see it all the time out at thrift stores. And I have bought a couple pieces by Camuto to sell, but it has just never done well. And then when I look up comps, they're never good. So I do not recommend picking up Camuto in terms of reselling. I feel like his retail prices also are very high, and people will pay those prices retail, but they are not willing to pay very much if you are reselling it used, especially used. The third brand that I don't pick up to resell is Calvin Klein. The exception to this is going to be like vintage Calvin Klein. I will pick up vintage Calvin Klein, especially the high-waisted jeans. I've sold some of those. And the activewear that has very prominent, like in recent days, I feel like the activewear is kind of making a comeback. Like the underwear where it had like just, when you think about Calvin Klein vintage, this is what you think about. Like the sports bras and the underwear with the band that says Calvin Klein. So unless it has a very prominent logo on it, I don't pick it up And then if I do pick it up, I'm not going to spend very much on it unless it is the vintage high-waisted jeans, which are super in trend right now. And I have sold those for $30 plus. So if you find anything vintage Calvin Klein, definitely get it. But in terms of recent styles, and you know, a lot of times they will have this like at the TJ Maxx yellow tag sale. I don't recommend buying it there unless it is the activewear with the huge logos on it, because that's what people want. Otherwise, I completely avoid it. So these last two brands are going to be probably surprising to some people. The first brand that is going to be surprising to you is Victoria's Secret. And this makes me really sad because Victoria's Secret at one point sold very, very well. But if you have watched the news recently, their company is not doing very well. They have done layoffs and they are closing stores. And it's sad because, you know, especially this time of year during the holidays, that's like one of the main staples is like to watch the Victoria's Secret fashion show. That's like always been kind of symbolic of the holiday season, I feel like. But for one thing, it changed networks this year, which I think is maybe not a good sign. It did get picked up by ABC, but usually they go somewhere like Paris or Milan or Australia or, you know, somewhere other than the United States. This year they kept it in New York City. And, you know, with the recent news events and stuff, I just feel like their stuff is very high priced. And people are just getting to a point where they do not want to pay that much for it anymore. And I feel like, you know, a while back they stopped making swimwear. I believe they still make it as part of their pink line, their line that's geared more towards like juniors. But in terms of, you know, their pricing, and they stopped doing their swimwear line and they announced that they wanted to focus more on like activewear. And I have sold some of the activewear, but I feel like if somebody is going to pay that much for activewear, they are going to go buy something like Lululemon, because I feel like people are more confident in the Lululemon brand in terms of activewear. And my Victoria's Secret stuff that I have been buying just is not moving. Pink stuff isn't moving, and I have just seen it, you know, I have stuff that's been sitting for a while. I have sold a few of their bras, if it's, you know, their more expensive bras like the Bombshell one or discontinued one. People are still selling the swimwear that they have that's been discontinued. They discontinued the regular Victoria's Secret swimwear and not the pink swimwear. So I have seen people selling that just because it's discontinued and people want like certain styles. But it is very, very specific to style in terms of what you can get for it. But in terms of like the pink sweatpants and the pink like jackets and sweatshirts and stuff, I have stuff that has not sold. I have stuff that's been sitting a while and is not really getting very much activity like it once was. So I am not currently buying Victoria's Secret to resell on Poshmark just because I feel like it's not as in demand as it used to be. So I feel like there are much more things that I can get that are in demand that are more worth my time of trying to sell them. And they're, you know, I like to get stuff that I know is going to sell pretty quickly, like Lululemon I know usually sells overnight. So I would rather invest my money into other brands that I know have sold consistently for me. And so I made a decision to very, very selectively buy Victoria's Secret. If I can find, you know, the bras for very cheap, I will pick them up. But other than that, I'm probably not going to be picking up any more Victoria's Secret for a while. Especially until the stuff that I have sells. If it does sell, I have no idea. So that is one brand, unfortunately, I have to include in this list just because I have seen it go downhill and the demand for it is just not what it was. So this last brand that I want to tell you about that I don't buy to resell, I realize is going to be kind of controversial because I feel like it does really, really well for some people, but for me, I have never been able to sell it well. And that brand is Free People. And I posted about this in my group before, my Facebook group. Free People just doesn't sell for me. And I don't know if it's just because I haven't found the right styles, because not a lot of people where I live wear Free People. It's just, you know, we just recently got Anthropologie in general here. And the closest Anthropologie to me is over an hour in either direction. So, you know, maybe it's just the styles that I'm finding that are local to me. And I'm not finding, you know, the stuff that is the most recent. But I have stopped buying Free People. Whenever I find it, I just pass on it. Because it's not worth my time. It's not worth my investment to where, you know, it might sell or it might not. So I just don't buy it anymore. I used to get really excited when I found it, and then I would buy items and they just sit and they don't even get a lot of activity. They don't get a lot of likes. I have sold other Anthropologie brands successfully for, you know, a price that is worth my time. So I do pick up other Anthropologie brands. It's just this specific Free People brand that is not good. And this has honestly been since the beginning, since I started. When I first started, I found this really interesting, it was like Victorian looking Free People kind of a tunic. And, you know, I had heard that Free People sold really well. And that sat for probably over a year before it sold. And, you know, I just don't find a lot of it, but it was very bizarre to me that all these people were talking about Free People and then I couldn't sell Free People. So I just don't pick up Free People anymore. So Betsey Johnson, Vince Camuto, Calvin Klein, Victoria's Secret, and Free People are 5 brands that I just kind of pass on now. Obviously I take it on a case-by-case basis and I will look up comps on certain things. But there are just so many other things that are way more worth my time that I know will sell consistently. So to save my time, I have pretty much stopped buying these brands. And you know, you just kind of have to figure out what works for you. Just because it doesn't sell for me doesn't mean it's not going to sell for anyone else. Especially Free People. Like, I know tons of people sell Free People, but for me it just doesn't sell. So these are just brands that I kind of pass on. So I hope this will help you. If anything, it will make you feel better if you have a brand that other people tend to sell very well that just doesn't sell well for you. Hopefully that will make you feel better that I also have these brands that, you know, I look at other people selling and I'm like, why can't I sell this? But everybody has their thing. Everybody has their niche. So just figure out what your niche is and what you sell the most of and go with that. Go look at your sold listings. Figure out what sells well for you and try to find more of those either brands or those styles of items. So that is my tip for you today. I thank you for watching this video. If you have a brand that everybody else seems to be able to sell that you can't sell, definitely leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. And I hope that you will go follow me on Instagram. And if you are new, I welcome you and I hope that you will subscribe to my channel. I make videos about selling on Poshmark. I also post thrift hauls and Dollar Tree hauls about saving money. So welcome to my channel and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.